Hi everyone, it's Andy Carley here from School Outdoor Learning. You're watching Soul Interactive. This is the video channel that brings you free outdoor learning resources. So the activity we're going to share with you today is called Capsule Tales. And from a curriculum point of view, it's a great way of combining lots and lots of different subject areas. History, literacy and language, art, DT and even computing all come together to create some really powerful learning for this exercise. So we all know the notion of the time capsule. Items get put into a sealed container, buried for normally quite a long period of time. It can be a generation, 25, 30 years, and then they're unearthed further down the line, and we can learn fantastic things about our ancestors, previous history, and the things that were important to them. For Time Capsule Tales, what we're suggesting is all of that gets shrunk into a much tighter timescale. So your year sixes, as they might be, so your top years that are leaving the school, put together a whole load of items into a time capsule. That gets buried pretty much on the last day of term, just before everybody exits, or the day before. And it gets buried away, and then the new year sixes, so your existing year fives, your new year sixes, when they come into the school in September, you have a ceremonial unearthing of the time capsule, and in there is all sorts of funny stories, jokes, tips and tools, advice from the previous year sixes to offer the new year sixes for their tenure in their final year. So in terms of containers, there are loads of different options you could use. You may well have plenty of things lying around the school. You can buy very inexpensively these BDH bottles that we use for water sports activities. And again, just really tight sealable lids that can go on top. But any box will do, frankly. If you're unsure about how watertight it's going to be, you can line it with a really thick bin liner, or you can put things into Ziploc bags. So there's all sorts of ways you can ensure that. You can even put one container inside another, if that's helpful to do as well. So these containers you can pick up for less than £20, and they are watertight, sealable, and very easy to bury as well. And then from a content point of view, you can offer loads of thoughts and ideas about the types of things they might want to include. So a perfect starting point might be a class or a year photo, so that all of the faces are recorded with names. And then they could have all sorts of fun with stories and poems, and maybe even create a year song, a short play. They could tell fantastic anecdotes and funny stories about some of the disasters that they've had on off-sites and away days, etc. They could also start thinking about some reflective stuff around their hopes, fears and expectations about them moving from primary into secondary. They could also offer some really good tips, tools and advice for how to survive and thrive in your year six and to make it thoroughly enjoyable and fun. So all you need to do is identify somewhere in your school site a safe, secure spot where you can dig a small hole. Make sure that your time capsule is really thoroughly buried and secure. Make sure that it's nicely tight, watertight, so nothing can get into it. Bury it as thoroughly as you can. Now you're obviously going to be using something other than leaves, so if it's buried really securely with soil over the top, or maybe a flagstone or something, so that it can't be tampered with or found very, very easily, or dug up by a fox. You're then going to need to mark it in some way, so there could be a stake in the ground. You might get some line marker paint and mark that on the ground so that you know exactly where to come and find it. Nothing worse than forgetting where you've put it and having to go hunting. And that's Time Capsule Tales, a great way of exploring loads and loads of fantastic learning through history, literacy, art and DT, computing, the list goes on. Also, what I hope you'll find is it can become a regular annual feature in your school's calendar and a part of the culture and fabric of your school going forward. Have fun with it.